everyone. I'm doing a short video before I head off to work. But I wanted to go ahead and put this out here. I'm going to put a disclaimer out that these videos are not for everybody. Okay? And so some things that you hear you may disagree with. Some things you hear it may resonate with you. You may feel like, oh yeah, this is something I always felt in my heart. Okay? And so I want to go back to this chart. And in this chart, I talked about the different dimensions, and I talked about how the third heaven or the third dimension was the place of Eden, which was this earth. Okay, and so at one point in time, I heard this message so many times from the ascended masters in metaphysics talk about this. At one point in time, Earth, as we call her, planet Kai, set in a higher density than she's sitting right now. And so that is the actual fall. And so at one time we were semi-physical, we were ethereal in nature. And so that was the place of paradise. And some of us probably even had dreams where we were actually light beings walking on this planet long before we became flesh, okay? And so there are many stories out there, there's many scenarios of what happened. Okay, but the point is, a fall did happen, and a fall wasn't man. The fall was the whole planet Kai. Okay, or the whole Tiamat. Okay, because this is Tiamat. The whole planet was Tiamat, and so at one time, and even as we call the spirit of this realm Gaia, at one time this whole planet Malakut rested in a higher density. We have some articles where they say that she was actually even in the fifth dimension, and she was called Tara at one point, and she fell. And when she fell into a lower state, a lower frequency. And so this is what the fall really is. It's not about eating the fruit off the tree and all this stuff. But I want you to always remember that truth is in everything. It's not just in the books or the ancient texts. They have hidden truth in every book that you can find, but you have to be able to get past the religion, okay, to read it. And even though scriptures are really, you have to decode scriptures to see what's really going on. They have so many books out there that you can read. And though you may see that name Jesus in there, ignore that. We know that's an allegory. Ignore it, okay, because we know that's Horus. We know that it's an allegory for a Messiah, and any person can be a Messiah. And so we know many Messiahs have come forth and have walked in the spirit of Christ to try to free us from the mental bondage that is really on us. And so it was really a mental bondage that took place after the fall. But this whole place was the place of Eden. Okay, and so I want to go ahead and I'm going to quickly read this so you can really see it for yourself. Everything is frequency, and so everything has codes. And so the codes, and we also hear Ascended Masters talk about this, how the codes were placed in the hands of those that oppress us. And so it looks like they're always getting ahead. Even when we are moving, we are getting ahead now, because the frequency of Gaia is changing. It's a true upward battle that's going on, because as long as the codes are still the same, it's going to be an upward battle, and we're not going to see the fastest transitioning because of that. And so we're going to have this constant battle, because as long as somebody hold the codes, it's like you have a car. You know how you have the coded car, and you have a code, and somebody saw you place the code in your car to get in. And so at nighttime, when you're resting, they are using your car because they know the code. And so they push the codes. And some of these cars today can start with codes. And so you got all this stuff going on. So this is just an example of when somebody has the codes. And even if they have your key, let's say they take your key in the middle of the night, and you figure, well, they can't get in my car because they don't know the code. But you don't realize they know the code. And so they getting in your car at night, and they driving your car, and then they come back early morning, they put your key back down, they put a little gas in there so you don't even realize that the car was taken, but you know something's not right. And as the original beings, or as the Elohims or the deities, we know in our heart something is not right. We can't put our finger exactly on what's going on, but we know something is not right. And so this is that inner voice, that inner power, that inner connection to source that's within us, letting us know something is not right. There is more going on than what you really what you're really seeing. Okay, and so as long as somebody has the codes to the frequencies, because the codes are frequencies, the codes are not somebody typing in a code, it's a frequency. And so they give you all this little information on the internet, the Grabovoi numbers, where if you say these numbers and you vibrate these numbers and stuff like that, you're going to start to transform your life and start to attract things to you, because everything is frequency. And so now they're giving us this information, but they've been using the codes for centuries. And not only the codes that they've given us, they've been using the codes that can work against the original people. So they've been using these codes against us. And so we never seem to get ahead. And so, like, even with the information they're giving us now, oh, it's this easy. You can do this. You can do that. Oh, follow these steps and you should see the same results. But they're not telling you the codes they're using to get those results. Everything is magic. I know we have been trained to think magic is evil. We have been trained to think that magic comes from the devil. We have been trained against everything. We have been trained against our own science. And we have, some of us, we like to think all our people are for us, but that's not true. That's just unrealistic to duality. If we are living in duality, if we living in a place of duality in every ethnic group, and we say, well, all beings have disagreeables and agreeables, why we disregard that when it comes to our own being, our own people, or those who we call our people? We have disagreeables within our own nation. We have disagreeables within our own ethnic group. Okay, and so we got to get past this point of thinking that all carbon beings are working in this together, that we are all together, that we want to see all of us excel and succeed. That's not true. We have some disagreeables in our group that have given the codes away. Okay, and so this was also told to us by the Ascended Masters. We have to get out of this la-la land of thinking all our people, all skin folk, are kinfolk. That's not true. And we want to believe that all our people have source in them. When Elder, and I don't like saying names on my videos, but Elder Bobby Hemmett said it. He said that they figured out how to clone melanated people a long time ago. And so not all skin folk are kinfolk. And so we have to get past this point of thinking that we have to be able to read the fruits. He said you shall know them by their fruits. And I'm not talking about no love and all that. You will know them by their fruits, by what they know, how they are connected to nature. And I'm not talking about hugging, no, doing little stuff like people doing where they're saving the planet and all that. I'm talking about you really connected to nature. Nature talks to you. That's how you know them by their fruit, because anybody can mimic love. Anybody can mimic. It's an easy thing to do. And so we get fooled by these things. Okay, and the reason why I'm talking on this, because the Spirit keep laying these things on my heart, because the Spirit is trying to let us know that you're still in the loop. You're still in the loop, and you think you're not. Okay, and so these great energies are on the planet, not for us just to feel good, but these great energies are on the planet because the mother is trying to elevate Gaia, and by elevating Gaia, she's going to free us from this low frequency that we are bound in. Okay, and so some of us, that's why the split has to happen, because so many of our people, like I say, all skin folk and kinfolk, but a lot of them are our people. And a lot of our people are sleeping, and so their energy is being used against even the elevation of Gaia. So their energy, so we're not fighting against the oppressors. We're really fighting against our own people because they're sleeping. As long as they're sleeping, their energy is being used against us, because they are the only ones that truly have the power to work against us. Not even the oppressors can come against the energy that's within us. It's all our own family that are sleeping, that their energy is being used against us. Okay, And so this is why Gaia has to be elevated. And this is why a split is happening, because some of our people are gonna wind up recycling here until they figure it out. They have to go through the lessons and continue to reincarnate until they figure it out. But Gaia is no longer gonna be stuck in the 3D density because of some of our people who refuse to wake up. So that's why this split is happening. But I want to show you how we fell, and when we fell, and how they keeping us in this fallen state, and how they using illusionary or artificial frequencies or low vibe frequencies to keep us locked in. Okay, so let me go ahead to this next picture, and I want to show you this. That's why I was saying something about the Jesus stuff, because in the Aquarian Gospel, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ, the moment you see Jesus Christ, you don't want to read it, but truth is hidden, and all information is hidden there. And they know, okay, they're not going to read it because now we done turned them against Jesus, so they don't want to read nothing with Jesus in it. We have to get past that and move in wisdom and know that they have placed truth even in these books. And if we don't read them, we're not going to be able to put this information together. Okay, and I'm not saying accept everything in here, but I'm saying be able to decode this stuff and know what's really going on. And so I'm going to go ahead and stretch this out so I can read this to you. Okay, and it says, the triune God, this is talking about the triple power, breathed forth. That's the spirit, breath is spirit, remember? The seven spirits stood before his face. The Hebrews called these seven spirits Elohim. Now Elohim is one word, it's a plural word for angels, gods, spirits, okay? And so these seven spirits, so now we're hearing the seven spirits. We done heard this many times. We know about the netters, we know about the orishas. The seven number always come up. So we know it's something significant about this 77 spirits, and how these seven spirits was used to create everything that we see. Not only in this realm, but they were used to create in the other realms too. Okay, and say, and these they who their boundless power created everything that is and was. These spirits of the triune God moved from the face of boundless space, and the seven ethers were, and every ether had its form of life. All right, these forms of life were but the thoughts of God. And I tell you, everything is mental, clothed in substance of their ether places. Oh man, that right there in itself is powerful. These forms of life were but the thoughts. If I told you with a mental substance of source, the thoughts of God clothed in the substance of their ether places. So the ether is form, okay? All right, men call these ether planes the planes of protoplast, of earth, of plant, of beast, of man, of angel, and cherubim. These planes, with all their teeming thoughts of God, are never seen by the eyes of men in flesh. They are composed of substance far too fine for fleshly eyes to see, and still they constitute the soul of things. And so they're saying that these upper realms, we can't even see them because the frequency is too high for us to even notice what's really going on. Okay? And with the eyes of soul, all creatures see themselves, planes, and all the forms of life. Okay? Let's see if I can find where it talks about this fall. Okay. Okay, let's see. All right. The ethers all because more dense, and all creatures of these planes were clothed with, oh man, flesh, which were blah blah blah, man, call here. And this is the call. All right. So I'm gonna go back to 29. And I gotta stretch it because you can't see if you put it down. But I want you to see this. Okay? And it was with every living thing until the will became a sluggish will. They're talking about how it became dense. And then the ethers of the protoplast, the earth, the plant, the beast, the man began to vibrate very slow. These ethers all because more dense, and all the creatures of these planes were clothed with coarser garbs, the garbs of flesh, which men can see, and thus the coarser manifest, which men call physical, appeared. And it was, and this is what the call this and this is what is called the fall of man. But men fell not alone, for the protoplast and earth and plant and beasts were all included in the fall. Okay, and so it's saying that we begin to move at a more sluggish will. So our will became, our desires became more lower in frequency, which caused us to fall. Okay, so that's their version. But I just want to show you, and I apologize, I was kind of like trying to figure out what it was saying because it's very small. But just to show you that a fall took place, and it not because of no fruit. Okay, everything is frequency. So when it says sluggish will, it's saying the frequency to begin to move really slow, and with that frequency we began to fall. So it's many scenarios out there how a fall happened and how we began to become sluggish in our frequency. Okay, and this was because something happened. And so though it doesn't mention something happened and what happened, okay, just said man, everything began to move very sluggish. We know that we were moving at a higher frequency, a higher ether, okay, than what we're moving at now. And so we get back here, when we get back to this picture, and it says the third is the place of Eden. Now you can understand why the earth is considered Eden, because at one time she was. Okay, why this is called Malakut, the kingdom, because at one time, and she still is the kingdom, but she's in a fallen state. But we were called the place of Eden. Okay, and we were not in this physical dense form, in this coarse form, as the Aquarian Gospel says. We was in a finer state. We moved in a higher frequency. And so at one time this was called the place of Eden. Okay, and so they understood, the invaders understood that if we can get these people to move at a sluggish frequency, we can bring down their frequency to where they can be bound in this denser coarse form. Okay, and so something took place, and now this is where you have to, if you're interested, you take the time and you try to figure it out and read it for yourself. But something took place. Okay, and so because of that, we Gaia dropped into this fallen state. And so this is the fall. Okay, it's not a fall with people, not a fall of angels. They say everything fell. We began to move at a sluggish will, meaning at a more dense frequency. And so even though we are still considered the third heaven, we are moving at a lower density, And so we're called the third dimension, or the third density. But the third density was the third heaven. It was the place of Eden. And it still is the place of Eden, but she's in a fallen state. Okay, and so right now this is being changed, and we're seeing the frequency is coming in from the cosmos to lift Gaia, to bring her back to her more higher state. This is the story of the bride preparing the bridegroom. It has nothing to do with a person. It has nothing to do with no tribes. It has nothing to do with none of that. It's all about Gaia. That's what it's about. It's all about Gaia and the people that lives on Gaia, the original beings that were here, that fell with her. Okay, and so I wanted to go ahead and say that, but this is the most important message I want to say, is that it is a frequency, it's a code that is keeping us at its lowest state. And so all these different frequencies are set up against us. Okay, and so you got the frequency of money. It's a low frequency, but they have made it to the point where they made money that's a low frequency a high frequency, higher than nature. And you know the frequency of nature is higher than money. Okay, but they have made the whole world to believe that money is a high frequency. That's an illusionary frequency to keep us bound to the 3D realm, the 3D consciousness, and the 3D density, even in our mind, because everything is mental. Even as I stated, that all is mental. And we read it even in the gospel, Aquarian Gospel, that the thoughts, that the mental thoughts of God, this is talking about the mental substance of source, lives within the forms of the ether. Okay, and so we are a very dense form of ether. Okay, because we have become coarse, which make us dense, which make us material, what we call physical. Okay, and so we're still ether, but we just moving at a very slow, sluggish frequency. Okay, and so as long as we are attracted to these artificial forms of frequencies, we're attracted to those frequencies, we're going to continue to move at them, but we have to use wisdom. So since they have given us this money as a fake form of high frequency, we're supposed to be using, if Gaia laid this on your heart, using these frequencies to transmute into higher frequencies. An example of that is taking money and buying land. Now, land is a higher frequency because that's Gaia than money. We're supposed to be using these lower frequency, transmute them into higher frequency, which is crystals. Lower frequency, transmute into higher frequency is providing knowledge and consciousness to people, using different methods that are given to you to do that. And so these things are higher frequency. Okay, and so we have been given this lower frequency, but it's our duty to take that low frequency and transmute it into high frequency, something that we can use to bring forth up, to bring back the frequency back in Gaia. Okay, we have land. If you have land and you use the land, you put your argon pyramid, or you put something with high frequency on it, so you can bring Gaia back up and get her out of this low frequency state, because it's all frequency. It's all frequency. And so I don't know the decisions that have been made with the Galactic Council as it pertains to are they going to leave a part of Gaia in its physical state and then let a part of her be transmuted and back into the higher form? So some people say we're going to have two Earths, because one would be back into the original state of what she was, which is an ethereal state, and then one will be left physical for those lower frequencies, because some people love low frequency, and so people love being here, and so it may be just like that. Okay, and so at one point we were in a higher frequency, and so I wanted to show the fall, and so I'm going to go ahead and end this message, but I just wanted to show you what the fall really was and how this map that I even put out was right. And so we fell into that dense form, and see, that's why you see the five realms. You see ether, even though ether is talking about space here. When we look in the air, that's ether. And then we have air. Air is a little lower than the ether, so ether is space. You got air, you got water, you got earth, and you got fire. Okay, and so when Gaia fell, when Kai fell, she was not in these physical states. She was not in these five realms. She was in a higher ethereal state, and that's why she's called the place of Eden, because she was not in the physical state that we see today. And that's how in the beginning we didn't eat, because there was no need to. We was in a higher frequency. We was on another etheric plane. We were not in the plane we are right now. And so when we fell into the place of matter. And the Gnostics talk on this, how we fell in matter. We fell in matter, okay? And so that's talking about the fall again, okay? And so at one point we set higher than the five realms, or the four elements, or the five elements. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. I get a lot of calls early. But I just wanted to show you how we fell in those five states, okay? And so we didn't start out in the five states. We didn't start out in the four elements, okay? We fell into matter. And so this stuff already existed. I was talking on that, the elements already existed. And so things was created from that, and that's what happened. So we fell into the lower state, and once we fell, then we had these extraterrestrials that had higher frequency to come in and use the elements to create form and lock us into these things. Okay, and so I'm talking about source itself, because source sits higher than all this stuff. So source was locked into this, and then some kind of arrangement was made with the galactic and all this stuff that's going on, how we making contracts. So this was this thing I'm talking about is long before all this contract stuff started. Okay, and so I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there, that that a fall did happen, explain what the fall really was, and let you know that it wasn't no fruit or no tree that was given to us in the Bible, and even that is a decoding that has to take place to really understand what they're talking about. And so I'm going to go ahead and end this message because it's getting pretty long. Have a blissful day. Talk to you later.